tanto jugando suelto como en competición. Tanto si se trata de un rápido 9 hoyos o de un gran 36. Tanto si juegas bajo presión o arrasando, siempre das lo mejor de ti. Nuevo Fuel de FootJoy.
Jordan Spieth is joining us at the 104th PGA Championship. Jordan, you came in earlier this year to play Southern Hills, but being from Northern Texas, have you had a chance to kind of come in and see maybe more of Southern Hills that maybe some other contestants this week have not?
I played the U.S. Amateur here 2009, but I just turned 16, so I don't remember much about it, and the course has changed since then. I was in a playoff, so actually most of the holes I remember were the playoff holes for 13 through 17. 17 for 4, I think I got knocked out. I was like the last one to get eliminated in that playoff to not make match play. And then I came up with Justin last Monday, and that was really the first scouting report of it. But it was nice. I didn't feel like I had to play any holes on Monday, and then I could just do 9 yesterday and 9 today, and feel like I could regroup. Last week was in a good way, very taxing. It was really hot, really slow rounds. Played threesomes on the weekend, and then obviously contending takes a lot out of you. So it was really more rest and recovery coming in, and it was nice to have come up early and learn the golf course. And it was just, it's hard to make a trip to Boston for a day and back, but from Dallas to come up here, it's pretty easy.
Very good. Wonderful. Questions, ladies and gentlemen. Microphone number 2, please.
Hey, Jordan, 2 questions for you. You just mentioned contending takes a lot out of you, but looking at your last few years, when you're playing well heading into a major, it tends to translate for you. Can you just kind of walk me through how you feel coming to a major on the heels of some good play?
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the ordinary for anybody. If you feel like you're in good form, you're just more confident in your game and such. So last week, that was the goal. I had a 3-week break after Hilton Head. I've been feeling like my game had been in really good shape this year, but hadn't really got a ton of results out of it. Only really 1 week at Pebble Beach where I had a chance to win. And it was a little bit frustrating because I felt like I was doing everything right and just kind of, just couldn't quite score the way I wanted to. And so after 3 weeks off, it was kind of a balance of, hit the reset button, but also, get rest, but then also kind of try and get right back to where we left off. And it was really nice to start out that way last week. Hometown crowd, it's always a really fun and big event for me. So like I just mentioned, it does feel good coming into here, but there were some parts of the game that, I learned from last week that needed a little bit more sharpening than what I had worked on. And that's what I'm just trying to do over these few days before tomorrow morning.
Yeah. You nailed it last week. What's your Mavericks prediction for this series?
I'm really excited they're playing Golden State because if I don't watch the Mavs, I'm watching Golden State. They're my second favorite team, so I'm a huge Steph Curry fan. I don't see how you cannot be a Steph Curry fan. So it's going to be a cool matchup. I may not even start watching it tonight because it's hard for me to watch it and not watch the whole thing. I get too invested in it, but so it's a little frustrating that it's the West Coast games before early morning tee time for tomorrow. But, yeah, if we can steal one in Golden State, I think we got a chance.
Question on mic 6.
Jordan, we've kind of heard different guys talk about their philosophy on when they miss a green here. It's a little bit unusual with Bermuda and the tight mo. What kind of shots do you think you'll be using around the greens? Will you be kind of bump and run, putting? Will you be lobbing? How do you deal with the grass here?
I think I'm fortunate in that I grew up on this really grainy Bermuda and grainy Bermuda runoffs where I grew up playing. So it's a comfortable grass type for me. The interesting thing out here is a lot of times on grainy Bermuda, a lot of times you're hitting onto Bermuda greens. And so you can actually drive it into the grain onto the greens and not have to bank shots up. Bank shots are really hard on this Bermuda grass because it can just snag it so quickly and it's hard to commit to hitting it so firmly into the hills. But I think you might have to do that quite a bit this week. So that's been a shot I've been working on. They mow it down grain through the green, so if you stay short of pin high, you actually are hitting off of a down grain lie, and that changes things dramatically. So I think keeping it short of the hole is important for if you are missing greens. Sometimes that's going to, you're not going to be able to necessarily totally control that. And if you get kind of into the grain out here, you're normally hitting down slope as well. And that's where it really gets tricky on this golf course. But like you mentioned, a lot of runoff Bermuda areas, not a ton of like rough around the greens. We'll have to deal with that rough into the greens a lot, and it's not super tall, and sometimes that makes it even more difficult because you're judging if it's going to kind of plop down or if it's going to be an actual flyer. So when the wind picks up, it's going to be par is going to be a great score because you're going to have a lot of those shots around the green that I was just talking about.
Thanks.
Mike 7, please.
Jordan, if you forgive a blunt question, do you think this is your best chance to date of completing the career Grand Slam?
I would say Saturday night of Bethpage, considering I only had one round to go and I had a chance there. When it's Wednesday, it's hard to say it's the best chance because you got to play 3 nice rounds to have a chance on Sunday. So, yeah, I like where things are at. I wish they were just a little tighter. I hope to get it that way. I'm still having to kind of rehearse my swing. I wish I didn't have to do that. That's just where I'm at right now, and so trying to be as outwardly focused as I can and not mechanically focused, but I'm kind of in a balance right now. I like the golf course itself. I like the grass types. Like I mentioned, I grew up on this, playing in the winds. It reminds me a lot of Colonial, just a little bit on steroids. A little more undulation and driver in your hands more, but it's kind of, I think Maxwell had some input in both courses, so that kind of makes sense that it would remind me a little of that. And the green complexes themselves, I like these kind of soft sloping and even a couple of these holes have significant slopes, but not crazy ridges and weird pins. Instead, it's right in front of you on the green. So I really, really enjoy playing this golf course, and I like kind of where I'm coming in with where my game's at. So it's just about settling into the tournament.
Sorry, a quick follow, if I may. How did you feel when you saw your grouping for tomorrow? Might gather a few fans, 1 or 2, following you around?
Yeah, they're both just great to play with. They're quick, they're positive. They're the 2 with maybe the most majors, Brooks tying Rory in the whole field. So obviously guys who know what they're doing around tracks like this and tournaments like this. So I think you got to embrace it and have fun and recognize these are the kind of pairings you get to I'll get to tell my kid about someday, So I got to play with Tiger in a major, and I've done it before. And, last year you weren't sure if that was ever going to happen again. So I know it's obviously great for golf, but selfishly it's pretty exciting to be able to play, these events growing up with the guy that you idolized.
Question on 10, please.
Hey, Jordan, just to follow up on that, I know you're accustomed to playing with huge galleries following you, but this is huge, right? With you, Tiger, and Rory. So how do you block out distractions?
Sometimes when the crowds get big enough, it's kind of just a color blur in a way. I think last week was nice, just kind of, if I had a month off and dove right into it, it's just a little bit maybe harder to just settle in, but we had some huge crowds last week on the weekend, and I think that helps kind of feeling the nerves and the pressure of contending in a tour event. These are the same guys we play against every week, and when you're used to being in front of big crowds by contending, on the weekend, that's normally when the biggest crowds are there, it starts to feel just a little more and more comfortable. So I think that was my goal last week for good reason, and I'm glad I accomplished, almost all of that goal.
Mike 7.
Jordan,
Sorry.
the Masters cut was kind of a surprise. Had never missed one there, and obviously you seemed kind of taken aback by it yourself. I mean, was it annoying? Was it a motivator? I mean,
it was annoying because Friday's round I shot 76, and I can't tell you that I missed a golf shot. It was bizarre. Tough. We had tough conditions. I had mud balls at bad times. Wind gusts at bad times, random. I felt like it was random, and therefore it was really frustrating because all you had to do that week was kind of make the cut, and then you could have made a run on Saturday when it was cold, and so I just really didn't feel like I did much wrong, and I've had weeks like that before. You just hope that they're not the Masters. So the old me a few years ago may have tried to go back to the drawing board and said, how do I fix this? What do I need to change? But Instead, I went out on Sunday, decided I didn't want to watch the final round, and went and played golf with Jay and Michael over in Hilton Head, and I just wanted to keep pushing what I was pushing, because I think my level of patience with my game is far superior than where it was, a few years ago. So I'm glad that since then it's really shaped out and that patience has paid off.
Well, that wouldn't necessarily, you wouldn't probably look at it as a good thing. In a way, has it helped in any way at all?
No, I don't think it helped at all. I think it tested that patience, and that was really it. But no, I'm never going to say, if I miss this cut, this is going to be a great thing for me. It's not there for sure. Once it happens, you can be down on yourself, or you can turn it around the other way, and I chose to do the latter. So once it happens, I think that's when you have to somehow figure out a way to turn it into a positive. But that Friday night, I was very upset.
Mike, 3, please.
Yeah, Jordan, I think that sometimes the stuff that we care about and talk about is different than what you guys care about and talk about. And one thing that we talk a lot about is the career slam, whether it's Rory at Augusta, Phil at the U.S. Open, obviously you here. How much is that something that you even think about or talk about with other people?
I don't think I talk about it much with other people, but it's certainly, at this point, given having won the other 3, it's an elephant in the room for me. It's a goal of mine, and if you just told me I was going to win one tournament the rest of my life, I'd say I want to win this one, given where things are at. If you told me that before my career started I was going to win one tournament ever, I'd say the Masters, because that was my favorite tournament growing up. But things change, and that has obviously significant meaning long term. It'd be really cool to say that you captured the 4 biggest golf tournaments in the world that are played in different parts of the world and different styles too. So you feel like you kind of accomplished golf when you win a career Grand Slam, I guess. So come close a couple times. This hasn't necessarily been my most successful major, but I feel good heading into this week. So try and, as I've said quite a few times, try and settle into this pairing the first 2 days and have fun with it, and see if that can, if I can play well these next couple days, given, the crowds that'll be out there. And I think the weekend might actually feel a little like a breather in a way. So that's how I'm looking at it.
Mike, 1, please.
Just to follow up on that, Jordan, this isn't just any other major tournament for you now. There's so much on the line historically. How do you approach it mentally, knowing that this does now mean so much more to you than the others?
I wouldn't say that I felt, and again, the only real chance I had was Bethpage. But I remember that Saturday and Sunday, and I don't remember it feeling any different than any other majors I've contended in. And they all feel about the same after the first one. And so I think looking at it long term, thinking, man, if I'm healthy, I look to have 20 chances at it, and maybe 1 out of 20. Those are better odds than I think, I normally get better odds than that. So, I think just more look at the long term, how many chances you're going to get, and maybe the ball will go, the bounces will go your way one of those weeks. So not trying to force it this week, I guess, is the best way to say it. Just try and do what I've been doing, stick to my routine, my game, block out any outside noise, and shoot as low as a score as I can.
What do you think it would mean to you if you can get there and join that very exclusive club?
Yeah. What do you think it would mean? I mean, it'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? I think it'd be pretty cool.
Mike, 6, please.
Jordan, what is the genesis of the rehearsal in your swing, and what do you think you need to do to move away from it?
I've been kind of doing something similar for a year and a half, just not necessarily over the ball, and it's more just a tempo thing right now for me over the ball, so I don't get a little quick with my arms. I just want to stay connected as I go back. And I try it, without it, and Cameron tells me, and it feels, not just he tells me, but it also feels just slightly better when I do it before I hit a shot on the range. So if I'm making better swings doing it, I get to my ball quickly, I play faster than I used to, I'm not slowing anybody down, and I make better, more committed swings with it. So At this point, that's where I'm at, and that's what I'll keep doing. And it's just trying to, like I've mentioned before, I'm pushing, going back to go forward, go back to my DNA on how I've swung the club growing up, and yeah.
Okay,
Mike.
One more, Jules. What are your thoughts on kind of the corner, 2 green, 3 tee, some of the areas where there could be a bottleneck?
2 green and 3. I think it's more so 13 tee over 12 green, and then 4 tee box and 6 tee box, and then yeah, there's a few of them. I mean, major championships first 2 rounds play pretty slow, so I think pace of play. I'm assuming the PGA of America will set up the golf course where you have pins more in the front of the green when the tees are back to hit over part of the green, just for pace of play purposes. But last weekend was remarkably slow, so I don't think we'll go any slower than we did last weekend, and so I think it'll actually feel just fine. And I think those boxes were created for us to hit it in the areas that the course was designed to hit it in. And we got 2 different wind directions, so to have multiple options for tees where we hit it to those areas and play the golf course the way it's supposed to be played, they need to be there. So I think there's a way to do it, and they'll figure it out.
Mike, 8, please.
Jordan,
Sorry.
Year over year, your driving statistics have improved pretty demonstrably. Your distance is way up, swing speed's up, ball speed's up. Was that a point of emphasis during the off season, or kind of how do you explain how you're now top 40 in distance on tour?
No, I actually haven't been working on trying to hit it further at all. I was trying to work on hitting it straighter. And in the process of getting more comfortable, I've just felt like I can go ahead and fire through the ball without having to maybe back out of it and try and save it. And there's a lot to be said about commitment through the ball and not having to worry so much. One, my contact's better. When your contact's better, your smash fact's better. So even if you're swinging at the same speed, your ball speed's up another couple miles an hour. So I'm a bit surprised at some of the numbers I've seen. It's cool, and it's been nothing but helping me. And I'm not trying to swing as hard as I can. I'm just trying to get it in the right position transitionally where I feel like I can burn and turn. And if that's the case, the harder I go at it, the straighter it seems to go.
11, please.
Jordan, you're kind of off the beaten path a little bit. I want to ask you about autographs. What's it mean to you to sign an autograph for a kid, kind of make his day? How tough is it? There's times you just don't have time to do it. And then were you that kid that craved autographs from some of the pros?
Yeah, I think the third question answers the first. I mean, that was me. I mean, I remember going with my dad to the Byron Nelson, and that's all I wanted to do was get my ticket signed by as many guys as I could. I'd wait out just to have that personal interaction. That's what's pretty unique in our sport, right? Is that up close personal interaction, even tournament days or these practice round days. It's really cool. It's I think when it's the kids, it's awesome because like last week I gave a ball to a kid walking off maybe on Saturday, and like he just lit up and turned around and was like screaming. I'm like, for me, I was just kind of walking by like, hey, here's a ball, and then when I kind of thought about it, I was like, man, that made that kid's day. Like that's really cool. And it would have been the same for me back then. Some weeks, this week, majors in particular, you have really large crowds in the practice round days, and so it's hard sometimes to get everybody, and I don't. But I think people appreciate if you're passing them and you just at least say, hey, look, I need to get my work done, and I'm going to be here afterwards, and I'll sign some there. They seem to appreciate that more than just kind of walking by. So try to do that the best I can. Certainly, for every 2 you get, you miss 1, and that's just kind of how it works. But if you try to get everybody every day, it can really wear on you out here. So works first, but try and make sure, we're out here because there's fans of golf. So we're entertainers to an extent too. So I think for the most part, pretty much everybody's really good about finding those that are supporting them and giving them a little bit of time.
Microphone 12, please.
I moved over here, Julius.
Oh, you're everywhere.
I should have trusted you. I thought I was in your blind spot. Jordan, hearing you talk, there's such meticulous planning that goes into this. Obviously, it's your job. But the effect of people watching you, it seems like your game inherent to it, there's a lot of drama and a lot of joy for people watching. And I was just curious, when you're playing, at this point in your career, is it all work, or are there moments within a round where you can experience joy as well?
Yeah, I think there's moments where I can experience joy. I'm trying to do more and more of that. You know, it was a grind for so long that you kind of forget a little bit about the kid in you and the joy and stuff. And then it's hard to fake it till you make it in this game. Like when you get off, you can't really, like if things are really off, you can come in with a positive attitude, but it's not necessarily going to yield any better scores until you fix things that are right, or that are wrong. So I think more recently I've been trying to really have some fun more, and Michael does a good job. You know, when he knows I'm a little, you know, if I wake up tomorrow a little bit on the wrong side of the bed, as we all do, you know, he'll try and talk to me about something other than golf. You know, he'll step in, and having kind of a friend on the bag that can help keep it light can sometimes, you know, turn things in that direction. It's really fun to contend. It may not look like on my face that I'm sitting there in such joy, but like that's what I love to do. You know, I love the grind. I love the frustrations. I love the drivable par 4. I need to step up and hit this cut right onto the screen like last week on Sunday on 14. And I hit that shot, and I'm just pumped up over there. I may not be like smiling and pointing at the camera and being like, "Did you see that?" No, but like, you know, inside I'm sitting there going, "That was really fun. That was really cool." Yeah, I'd love to make. When golf is boring, it's really fun for me professionally. There's been plenty of dramatics in my career thus far, and there's been some boring wins too, and they're all, I think, just as enjoyable.
Thank you.
Microphone 4.
Hey, Jordan, thanks so much for answering these questions today. With Phil, is it strange not having the defending champion here this week, and just the whole Saudi golf story? What's your take on the tenor that story is taking?
You just went and threw 2 bombs at me. Since everyone was lobbing me questions, you just threw 2 bombs. Yeah, I think it's unfortunate Phil's not here. I mean, his accomplishment last year was insane. I mean, one of the greatest accomplishments in the history of the game. So I just think it's really unfortunate that as a defending champion he's not here, and hopefully things can just get back to normal and everybody can kind of get back to the way things were. With the Saudi League or the Live League, you know, everybody can do what they want to do. No players are standing in any player's way. If they want to go, you know, go. And I love where I'm at. I've been saying that for a long time. So weeks like last week are what I enjoy the most, and excited to come here this week and just keep my head down, and none of those distractions weigh on me whatsoever.
Let me ask you a happier question then. Tiger, your playing partner, what do you make of him making the cut and making it through 4 days of the Masters, and what he's trying to do this week?
I didn't feel very good about myself knowing he was on one leg and he made the cut and I didn't. But he also beat everybody in a U.S. Open on one leg, so when I thought about that, it made me feel a little better. It's to go that long. Like I go into Hawaii after like 4 weeks off, and that's the most relaxing week of the year. And you still have the nerves and you like rust to shave off. It's pretty incredible what he did there, given everything that happened. And I thought when it happened, I didn't really know much. You know, Justin had seen him a lot, gone over there, and it wasn't his place to tell everybody, you know, how he was doing, but just the little bit that I knew, I was like, man, I hope he can walk rounds with his son someday. Sure enough, he teed it up in the father-son later that year, and then made the cut in the Masters, and here he is on a course he's won a major before. So you can't ever doubt the man anymore. He just continues to amaze people.
Just a couple more questions, ladies and gentlemen. Microphone number 9, please.
Jordan, last week you gained shots on the greens for the first time since the Genesis. How do you kind of balance the putting practice while going through the swing change, and how do you make sure you don't neglect it?
Yeah, it was certainly, there was a bit of, I mean, it's not like I didn't practice putting, but when you get a little off, sometimes you don't necessarily recognize it if you're so focused somewhere else, and I think just a little bit of neglect hurt. And I put in good work, but it was going to be a little trial and error last week, and I'm glad that I gained on the field with a little bit of that. And then when it got to the weekend, you know, there were some putts where I just put some strokes I wasn't, you know, purely confident on, like you know, I have been before and hope to be again. But from those, I learn a little bit, right? You know, I missed a couple that I should have made, and then I went and made a couple really nice sliders on the last 5 holes, and I really look at those and I take those into this week because I felt more pressure on those than any other putts throughout the week. So it was definitely a better performance, and I have a good idea of what I need to be doing. It's just now it's about pushing that agenda like I have with the full swing tee to green. So it's hard to put a ton of focus into every single part all the time. I feel like I'm in a place now where I can take my foot off the gas a little bit, not much, but a little bit, and on the full swing and shift it over. And that's what we've been doing the last few weeks.
2 more questions, please. Microphone 13.
As a practical matter, what's the most difficult challenge in playing with fellow megastars tomorrow?
I think it's more just like, you know, there's going to be some noise. There's extra noise. You know, it has nothing to do with the 2 guys I'm playing with. It's everything that surrounds it. You got to wait longer for the crosswalks. When Tiger finishes out on a hole, there's going to be people leaving. And so there's noise. And you just know it's going to happen. And honestly, like, if there's enough of it, it doesn't bother you. It's when it's super quiet and the one thing's yelled, when you can flinch, but that normally isn't an issue. So not much. It feels like a weekend round on Thursday, Friday, I guess, is kind of the best way to put it. I think it's a hard golf course too, so managing expectations on focusing on your game on the course and not what's going on around you.
Final question, same mic.
Jordan, what's the biggest factor you've learned about majors now at your age to when you first started competing in them?
To be honest, after my rookie year, second year on tour, you know, I had great success in the majors, so I've never really tried to change things. As I just mentioned at the end of that last question, I think the most important thing is how to really set the right expectation for that round on the course. You know, we go from 25 under not winning last week to no one shooting 25 under this week. So that changes how you're looking at shots coming into greens, changes how you're approaching tee balls with pin locations. You can't just fire driver everywhere, you know, and get away with it. So it's a lot of course setup, more kind of tactical planning. Something that I think I've done well, and I won't change how I do it. You just have to make sure that you jump into that mindset.
Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
El nuevo Pro SL no tiene clavos, pero tiene un agarre increíble. Con una plancha de carbono adicional para optimizar el retorno de energía y un nuevo y moderno diseño, el zapato original de máximo rendimiento sin clavos tiene algunas ventajas importantes.